What up, everybody? It's your boy 5 Wars D coming at you with a little fun video here. All HBCU versus SEC team. And we're talking about the best players from the HBCU versus SEC series and seeing who made the final team. If I were to build a super HBCU team, who would be on that roster? So today we're going to go over that roster: offense, defense, and special teams. Even though I went 1-9 in this series, I am proud of the fact that I did get the one win, of course, with Morgan State beating South Carolina 34-6. And the goal of the series was to win. I wanted to win a game and then be like, hey, I did it, and then stop from there. I thought, honestly, that Hampton had a good chance to beat Vanderbilt in that first game, and I thought the series would have been over right there. So, yeah, I think that was a pretty successful series, man. You guys seem to really enjoy that. So here we go with the all HBCU versus SEC roster. Starting off at quarterback, we got to go with the winning quarterback, man. Number 11, Morgan State. 12 of 17, 256 yards, and 3 passing touchdowns against South Carolina. He was dotting them up. I mean, from the opening snap, he was dotting up South Carolina. He only had 5 incomplete passes, didn't throw any interceptions, and he also did not get sacked. That's credit to the offensive line, but he was doing his thing. He also had 31 rushing yards and 1 rushing touchdown to go along with his 3 passing touchdowns. Being able to run the ball with the quarterback was different. I don't think I really had a quarterback who really threatened the team with his legs in the entire series. And if I did, they weren't the threat that number 11 was with Morgan State. So definitely got to have him as a quarterback since he was a bit of a dual threat there. And if I'm going to be running the ball, I got to run with them boys from Norfolk State. My running backs, no particular order of who's number 1 and number 2, but definitely number 2 from Norfolk State and number 4 from Norfolk State. 17 carries for number 2, 209 touchdowns, and 209 yards and 2 touchdowns against Arkansas. Number 4 had 18 carries, 186 yards, and 3 touchdowns against Arkansas. Those 2 boys right there. Oh my goodness. I mean, they did their thing. They did their thing against Arkansas, man. Combining for 5 touchdowns. Just ran all over them. Remember, I put the backup running back number 4 at quarterback and then had them run the option all day. We did not throw a single pass that entire day. So if you got a running back or running backs like those 2, along with your dual threat quarterback like number 11 from Morgan State, you've already got some brothers in the backfield that can threaten you with their legs. And then you got, of course, the quarterback being able to dot around the field. But who will number 11 be throwing to on this all HBCU team? You already know. My wide receiver 1 is Marquay McDaniel. From the opening kickoff against Vanderbilt, I told y'all to watch out for that boy Marquay McDaniel. How about 19 catches, 349 yards, along with 4 touchdowns against Vanderbilt in game 1 of the HBCU versus SEC series, man. 349, 4 TDs is something that a lot of receivers hope to get in like the first half of a season or something like that. You know what I mean? 19 catches in 1 game, 349 yards in 1 game, 4 tuds. Come on now. And how about this? In the rematch with Vanderbilt, he didn't do as well, but that's still a stat line that you should be happy with. 7 catches, 200 yards even, and 2 touchdowns. 7 catches, 200 yards, and 2 touchdowns is still a good stat line. So Marquay McDaniel absolutely is number 1. He burned his guy deep in both games. Talking about deep threats, we got to go with the boys from Alcorn State. My wide receiver number 2 is going to be 82 from Alcorn State. 9 catches, 208 yards, and 3 touchdowns against Alabama. And I think the reason why I gave him the number 2 receiver spot is because he had 3 touchdowns against Alabama. I like the way that he was able to hang on to the ball and make tough catches. But number 5 made tough catches as well. I mean, he caught some passes in double coverage. He finished with 9 catches, 236 yards, and 1 touchdown against the Crimson Tide. Both were really impressive. I mean, they both had over 200 yards. They both had 9 catches, and they both scored a touchdown. So I for sure will have them on the team. And then my wide receiver number 4 is number 85 from FAMU. He was a very good threat across the middle, a good deep threat as well. 8 catches for 144 and a touchdown against Mississippi State. And I really liked being able to go to number 85. He was very reliable all day. So that receiving core right there, of course, they wouldn't be able to put up the numbers if they were all working together that they made, that they put up individually. But I mean, they could spread this defense out. There's not a lot of secondaries in the SEC that I truly believe could cover all 4 of those brothers. So definitely that receiving core is something that I would love to work with if I could mod the game. When it comes to my tight end, I mean, honestly, take your pick. I didn't throw to any tight ends, not that I remember. I don't know. I can't think of any time that I threw to a tight end in the entire series. So don't worry about that. When it comes to the offensive line, let me get the entire Florida A&M offensive line, the entire FAMU offensive line, because they were the only offensive line that I worked with that had guys in the 70 overalls. Nobody else had guys on their offensive line in the 70 overall range. Nobody did. When you look at the way FAMU blocked, they created a clean pocket most of the time. They did leak a couple of times, but they were also the only team that provided really good run blocking. What other team did you see me run the ball up the middle? I confidently ran the ball up. I was running dive and running power. I didn't run dive or power at any time in this series successfully. Everything was to the outside if I ran at all. Most of the time I was passing the entire game. But that FAMU offensive line had good pass protection. They had really good run blocking, I would say, for an HBCU, and they deserve to be the guys protecting number 11 from Oregon State. When it comes to the fullback, I will go with the Alcorn State fullback, number 36. He was a 72 overall, so that's really why he got the nod. That's kind of it. That's the only reason why he got the nod. Honestly, man, I look at this offense and I just say that's so much talent there. It's a lot of speed, a lot of skill, and I think it's an offense that could put up a lot of points if they were able to all play together. Going to the defense, this one I'm going to categorize it by the schools because we got a lot of them grouped together. We're going to start with Morgan State. I've got Morgan State's defensive end, number 67. He had a huge, and I do mean a huge, Goldberg spear-like sack against South Carolina, so he's in there. Number 66, the defensive lineman from Morgan State. He got hurt in the game against South Carolina, but before that, if you go back and watch the film of it, he showed his power. He showed his strength. He showed his ability to get into the backfield. He showed his ability to run stuff. That's somebody I got to have on my defensive line. Then you got the left outside linebacker, number 43 from the Morgan State Bears. I like the way he attacked, and he continued to attack all night. But I was really impressed with the safeties. When I watched the game back, and I've watched that game a few times because, I just love watching how I was able to pull that off because honestly, I'm still scratching my head how I kept him out of the end zone. But the big reason why Morgan State kept South Carolina out of the end zone is because their safeties, number 18 at free safety, number 22 at strong safety, they didn't let anything past them. You look at it for what it is, your last line of defense is your safeties. And their attack angles, their tackling angles were on point the entire game. You think of how slow HBCU players are and how low their awareness is in these NCAA games. Their attack angles are usually pretty trash. So they're already taking a bad angle and they're slow. So they're not going to get to the speedy wide receivers or the speedy running backs of the SEC. It's just not going to happen. Well, the safeties at Morgan State were pretty much the opposite. They weren't the fastest, but they took really good angles and they were there. And they had really good coverage as well. I was very impressed with their coverage against South Carolina. So I had to go with the Morgan State safeties as well as their left outside linebacker, their defensive lineman, and one of their defensive ends. Moving over to Hampton, I've got their defensive end, number 40. He had a pretty good sack against Vanderbilt. And then the defensive lineman, number 90 as well, he showed his power, showed his ability to make plays at the line of scrimmage. But the really impressive guys, the middle linebacker, number 50, I called him the police because he's got on that 5-0. I saw him sideline to sideline, always near the ball, making a bunch of tackles on the running back from Vanderbilt in both games. And he was just there. He also covered pretty well. He was able to wrap up Earl Bennett as soon as Earl Bennett caught the pass. I mean, he was a guy who was a sure tackler. He didn't miss too many tackles. He did suffer some from being a little bit slow, so if they ran around him, he wouldn't be able to get there. But when they did run near him, he was there. He was there, and he would shut it down. So gotta have him at middle linebacker. But you know I gotta have my guy number 5 in here at cornerback from Hampton. The most athletic player of the HBCUs in the NCAA video games. He's got all kinds of speed. He can cover. I don't know who he is. I've had some friends try to look him up in real life, and I don't know if he actually existed. I certainly didn't create him. I did not create any characters for this game. I didn't create anybody for this series. I played it straight up. And I don't know if he existed or not, or what happened there, but he covers like he plays for the SEC. He had a big interception towards the goal line to shut down a Vanderbilt drive in the rematch. And he had pretty much shut down coverage in the first game because they didn't really throw his way. They left him alone for the most part. And also, he's the only guy who has track down speed for any HBCU. I've only seen us catch somebody from behind once in that entire series, and that was number 5, catching the quarterback from Vanderbilt by the ankles to prevent him from scrambling for a touchdown. So gotta have him in there. Moving to Grambling. If you guys remember, that Grambling defense was pretty stout against LSU. In I guess the first half of that game, the offense just wasn't there at all. I mean, there was no type of offense, but you look in that first quarter, they were shutting down LSU for the most part. And had they had the support of the offense, I think they really could have made the game a lot more competitive. But they did what they needed to do. Their defensive lineman, number 96, a lot of power, stayed in the backfield. The guy stayed in the backfield. Seriously, he stayed in the backfield. I love the way he rushed the quarterback. Who was it? Matt Flynn, I believe, is the quarterback for LSU in this game. So he stayed in the backfield and made all kinds of plays. Also, their cornerback, number 4. Their cornerback, man, everywhere. He's a shutdown corner just like number 5. Maybe not as highly ranked in terms of overall, but I mean, he's there. The other guys are from different schools. They weren't really grouped together, but we got the Alcorn State cornerback, number 32. Really loved how he attacked the ball at the highest point to make an interception against Alabama. That's really why he got the nod. And then we have the right outside linebacker from Florida A&M, number 52. I just love the way he attacked. Special teams, real quick, is nothing crazy. My kicker, number 92 from Florida A&M, he made the longest kick in the series. I did not kick field goals a lot. If I kicked, it was because I was kicking an extra point. But field goals is not something I really did. But because I saw how much kick power this guy had, I decided to try it. Tried a long field goal. He nailed it, and it helped Florida A&M stay in the game. My kick returners, easy. Morgan State, number 19, took a kick all the way against South Carolina. Alcorn State, number 5, he's one of the receivers. Well, he took a kickback as well against Alabama. So they will be my 1-2 punch at kick returner. And then my punter, I have number 35 from Morgan State, and the only reason he got the nod is because he was on the winning team. So that's the only reason I gave him the nod. That's it. If I was able to mod the game and put all these guys together on one mega HBCU team, I would. If I could put all of these guys on one HBCU football team, I would line them up against Tennessee, Florida, Georgia, LSU, and I would give them a chance. I really think that if you put all these guys on the team, they would beat Vanderbilt. Absolutely, they would beat Vanderbilt. I think they would play a pretty competitive game against the Mississippi State Bulldogs, and I think they would be competitive against Arkansas as well. And looking at the way Grambling was able to shut down LSU at first, well, you pair the defense I just came up with this offense, I think LSU has a run for its money there. But that's a strong team. I mean, if you guys have been watching the series, that is a strong team right there. And that offense is, I mean, I'm an offensive guy, and I would be incredibly excited to work with the quarterback from Morgan State and see how creative I could get with the running backs from Norfolk State. But having Marquay McDaniel on the outside is the thing that makes me go, oh my goodness, this is going to be amazing. And then being able to threaten a defense deep with the guys from Alcorn State, and then probably have the FAMU guy in the slot whenever we needed him to. So, and then you add in the protection that you would get from the FAMU offensive line. I think it'd be amazing. And then, you know, what could those other teams do? Because some of those teams that we played in the SEC had a #1 receiver. Well, you put number 5 from Hampton on him. You put number 4 from Grambling on the other guy. I mean, where are they going to pass? You know, where are they going to pass the ball? And then I've got those safeties from Morgan State on the back end. They just didn't let anything past them. They made open field tackles. They had good attack angles. They were just there. So I would put this team up against anybody. I would put this team up against anybody, honestly. But that'll be it. That'll be it for the HBCU SEC series. Don't plan on bringing it back unless I get a new NCAA game. Because, I mean, hey, if they're able to bring it back and we get a NCAA, 2020, 21, what are we on, Madden 21 now? So I guess NCAA 22, then yeah, we'd run one, I would definitely run an HBCU SEC series if we get a new college football game. But until then, I'm gonna start this HBCU ACC series. I know that'd probably be better in basketball, but honestly, my NCAA basketball game has some scratches on the disc, and I'm not that good at the game, to be honest with you. I'm not very good at any basketball game, actually. That's why you haven't seen 2K on this channel, because I don't really play 2K. I'm not good. But it'll be HBCU versus ACC coming up. Those are matchups that do happen, and upsets have happened between an HBCU and an SEC. An HBCU team has taken down the likes of Miami. I forgot who did it, but Miami has been beaten by a HBCU. But the first game will be Morgan State coming back to the field. Morgan State deserves it. They're like the reigning HBCU champs. They were the winners, so they're going to carry the torch, and they're going to go over to the next series, and they're going to play Wake Forest. That'll be the first game, Morgan State at Wake Forest. In the second game, honestly, Norfolk deserves a chance to win a football game. They got so close, and they should have at least forced overtime against Arkansas, but unfortunately had a turnover at the end of that game. They deserve a chance to take the field again and avenge themselves. I'm going to have them take on Duke. Norfolk State taking on Duke. So look forward to those two videos, and I will see you guys then. It's your boy 5 Wars Deke. One love.